In the hundreds and hundreds of videos and thousands upon thousands of hours I do have in Apex, I don't think I have ever made a video as important as today's. If you are struggling to improve, wondering what you need to improve, or just want to perform better in your matches, you are in the right spot. We are going to rate and rank over 20 habits and skills you need to build right now. In some sense, all these habits can matter quite a bit, but we're trying to prioritize those really need to have right now skills. We begin with the D tier, and I do not have a lot to highlight for this section, as D tier for me are the skills that are of course important, but really these skills are more so dependent on the specific player or from person to person. The first skill is going to be to have control of your mental game. This absolutely matters from person to person, which is why I do put it in the D tier, as I do truly think some people are more capable of just grinding through the mental aspects of playing. For me, my positivity, enjoyment, fun factor, and motivation would be a literal S tier skill or habit to develop, as if I ain't having fun or the motivation to play, my ability to do well is chalked. But that being said, it really does matter on the person-to-person basis, as we have seen tons of pros who are seemingly not enjoying the game, but still do very well. I do think there is some encouragement to be said that if you can enjoy and not take things as seriously as we all do from time to time, you will just play better. Now that one skill is out of the way, we do move into the skills that are okay, but maybe not crazy game-changing to build up, and or they are pretty easy to learn. The first habit I see many less skilled players not utilizing enough is putting your weapons away. This is such an easy thing to do, but I do think it requires a little understanding of when it is and is not appropriate to do so. Really, if you are ever moving and basically not actively firing at someone, you should put your guns down. And this even means breaching forward 10 meters to get around that corner to start an engagement, or when you are chasing an enemy. The reason this is important is because literal seconds and fraction thereof matters a lot in Apex and in your gunfights. These fractions of a seconds are the difference between you shooting 3 or 4 more bullets before your enemy gets around that corner, or taking 25 to 50 less damage from that enemy. Fractions of a second matter, and it's why you see those crazy movement players constantly stow and pull back out their weapons in fights. A skill that is fairly situational is going to be third-party utilization. When it comes to actually winning games and making plays, utilizing the habit or skill of third-partying really is the best way you can win a game in general, but third-partying isn't going to really make you that extremely good and much better player, as you are not using movement, positioning, or something else like this to just win and outsmart your enemies in a straight fight. Rather, you are using this skill on a team that is getting beat or already has been beaten up by another squad, which is where the terminology of third-partying comes in, as you are the third party entering the fight. As all you really gotta do is listen for fights that are happening around you. If you do want to take this one step farther, listen to when the gunfire ends and watch your kill feed so you can tell if your enemies are trading or getting a lot of knocks before you go in to clean up. The third C tier habit you need to build is actually a very simple one that is often overlooked, and it's your crosshair placement. This can be a very simple thing that makes a mega big difference in your fights. The most basic thing this refers to is keeping your crosshair either at head level or just around the upper chest or neck area on enemies. This way, whenever an enemy enters your view, you are already right on target where you need to be. If you are ever so slightly aiming just too far up or down, you are lowering your time to kill, maybe without you even realizing. The general reason why you do want to aim at the upper chest is because the recoil of weapons will let you bounce in and out of that head area, and you're going to get a few headshots in there. As aiming right at the head is of course going to lead to getting more headshots, but you might also miss some shots, which will overall lower your time to kill on enemies, unless of course you can control that recoil of the weapon. I give one skill or habit a C+ tier rating, and it is going to be legend knowledge. This is one of those skills that I often find players massively over prioritizing or think that it is very important to know every single legend's abilities. The truth is, you really don't need to know every little detail of every legend in Apex, as long as you do have a very basic knowledge of what the abilities are, and then you are good to go. Of course, the more you know, the better you will be when it comes to some very niche or unique scenarios, but for the most part, focus on the basics. A great way to learn the basics of every legend now is to utilize the firing range, as you can test out the legends before purchasing or unlocking them, and at least this way you can see how every legend's abilities work when you do come across them in the wild. There are quite a few habits in B tier which are the good and great habits or skills to learn. The first skill for me is actually one I think is often overrated by many players, and this is going to be movement tech and how you implement movement into your battles. Having a deep knowledge of movement is a very valuable skill, and oftentimes you can use this movement tech to extend your life and just outduel your opponents. However, we have many examples of top level players that do have some decent movement, but they almost rarely are doing anything too crazy and are still able to perform at the top of their game. sometimes just keeping it simple and not overthinking how you are gonna tap, strafe, wall jump, super glide into the battle is the best way to go. It is a lot of fun to learn all the tech, but really keeping your movement simple but effective, I find, is gonna produce the best results. If you have been playing for a while, then learning and expanding your knowledge, of course, is very good to have, but otherwise, learn the fundamentals and then prioritize on other skills. Almost in the opposite sense of movement is going to be something that many players need to be doing a lot more, and it is retreating. No one likes to call it quits, but sometimes the best way to win a fight is to retreat and reset for another go at another time. Understanding that a fight is taking too long, or if it is drawing you out into a spot of poor positioning, is a skill that is hard to identify and learn. But if you can't get a sixth sense for knowing when it is best to fall back to live another day, this is huge. Every fight you start or take, or every fight an enemy starts to take on you, does not need to be completed right there and then. Sometimes falling back and extending your life is going to be the best way to win. Having the self-respect to tell yourself and your squad that backing out is the right thing to do is something everyone needs to be doing more. One thing I should mention, not everyone needs to be doing this all the time. You don't want to constantly be running away from fights, because if you do run away from every fight, you're really just hurting yourself in the long term. In tandem with the previous habit, learning how to perform clean and fast fights is also a habit and skill that you need to build and learn. In a lot of ways, this is also an anti-third-party skill, which is massive. The faster you take and eliminate an enemy team when performing a fight, the better off you will be to prevent anyone from third-partying you. The main reason is that gunfire audio travels quite far. This easily lets everyone know in the entire server, or at least the entire area, knows that you are in a fight and you are preoccupied. The better you can cleanly eliminate your enemies, the better off you're gonna be, and this means both in swiftness of the fight and fighting without getting knocked. The big tip is to really not engage enemies until you are actually ready. This is both in the distance you are from them and not firing your gun until you're really on target and you're at that optimal distance. Of course, if they see you already, it's not as big of a deal. Obviously, there are going to be scenarios outside of your control and you won't be able to have a clean fight every time, which is why the previous habit of retreating may sometimes come into use. Our next habit is a simple one that with a little bit of in-game time, you can learn to perfect it. This is going to be your inventory management. If it sounds really simple, that's because it is. Oftentimes, making sure you are not carrying too much ammo, maybe too many shields, too many health heals, making sure you always have a grenade, all of these little things really do go a long way to your success. The big one, I think, is to drop unnecessary items as frequently as you can, or drop items when you have a surplus of them, even if you do have room. By doing this, when you do get to that death box, you can quickly just pick up the items that you need, and you won't need to swap items out, speeding up your looting and your combat readiness. Another mistake I often see is carrying way too many health heals. You really should never need more than 4 syringes and 2 med kits unless you know you are going to take big ring damage. More times than not, players are still going to have these in death boxes, and your shields are going to be the first thing to be tapped when you are in a fight. Just be attentive to your inventory and make sure what you are carrying is actually what you really need and want. Next up is going to be touching that beautiful Mother Nature's grass. But seriously, this may be one of those detail skills, as it could depend on person to person, but truthfully, getting time out of the world of Apex is critical to your success. If you find that you are super tilted, inting everything, and throwing your matches, or just playing poorly, one of the best things I find is to take a walk away and take a break from Apex. Much like managing your inventory, having balance is key to everything in life, and sometimes the best way to play better is just to take 5. The first B+ skill and habit I do want to mention is another simple skill, but one that may matter the most when it comes to starting off things right. It is simply just understanding and learning how to effectively drop in your matches. If you aren't looking around to see who is dropping with you, splitting off from your squad, and falling to drop as efficiently as you can, then there's a good chance those 1 or 2 seconds an enemy may get to the ground before you is going to be the difference between life and death, or you getting that P2020 and them getting the car SMG. The big thing is to try and create some space on your landing, never 50-50 loot pills or piles of loot with enemies, and really your speed when dropping should never fall below 130 to 140. If you do these 3 things, you are already off to the proper start of your game and already setting yourself up for success, and not just in your early game, but how your mid and end game will be as well. The final B tier skill I want to reinforce is going to be your communication. This arguably could be much higher than the B+ I am giving it, but there's a reason why there is no solo mode in Apex, whether you agree with it or not. It's because Apex Legends is heavily a team game, and having good communication is a must. If you are willingly walking over purple attachments, better armors when your team needs them, or ammo and grenades when your squad might want them, but you aren't pinging them, then you are the problem. A simple tap of the button to ping is the most basic and easy communication you can be doing, and if you aren't being a team player, then shame on you. Of course, turning on that microphone and having clean and useful comms is the better way to go, but sometimes just using the tools that the game already has is the simplest way to go. Moving into A tier, we do have the habits and skills that are massively important to your in-game success and can be very impactful if you are able to learn and utilize these. The first A tier is going to be your looting quickness and effectiveness. This is different from your inventory management, as being able to walk through the map, understand exactly what you need and only what you need, and then quickly picking it up is a very, very valuable skill and necessary skill to build. In tandem with this, and almost more specifically, this also means not overlooting. Overlooting is a huge way to not only destroy the amount of kills and damage you are going to do in your match, but also greatly hurt your chances at building your skill and improving. I don't think there's anything more disappointing or detrimental to a game when players are taking eons to loot and gear up, when frankly, getting only what you need and then quickly taking a fight is 10 times more valuable to you improving and actually getting loot than you just running around and picking up items off of the ground. If you think about it, every time you kill an enemy, you are not only saving yourself time from looting, you're also getting and taking advantage of all that time your dead enemy did spend looting. This is the big one that takes a ton of time to build, but what I find even more so is important to your game than the previously discussed legend knowledge is going to be map and ring knowledge. Being able to predict or having a good idea as to where the ring is rotating is a huge way to have a leg up on everyone that is around you. Having a good idea as to where things are going means you can better position your squad for either more kills from having better positioning, or you can't just live longer. This is going to take a lot of time to build though, as each map has hundreds, maybe even thousands of ring options, but be sure to pay attention to each and every game to better learn how the ring is moving so your future self can thank your present self for being attentive and aware. Next one is one that sounds really obvious, but staying healthy is critical. This isn't per se what you think it is though. Staying healthy means not over peaking, not pushing when you are weak, and just understanding what your health status is doing to the enemy's plan and strategy. Anytime you take big damage, you are inviting enemies to push. This could be good, this could be bad. If you are peeking and trading with enemies after taking sizable damage, say 80 of your 100 purple shields, you are flirting with disaster. Getting hit an additional 80 on top of that first 80 and getting you down to say 40 health pretty much just means an enemy is going to instantly be pushing you. Not to mention peeking when you are under 120 health is just begging for you to get one or two tapped from a well-placed headshot. On top of this, if you are getting knocked super early during an endgame multi-team fight, you are greatly diminishing your squad's capabilities at winning, and it's more or less just because people's ego think they are capable of challenging, when in reality, playing safe till the right moment when you need to extend and push is going to be the way to go. If you have health, if your teammates are up, you still have a chance. There's nothing more demoralizing when you are spectating your last living squad mate trying to clutch up, and what do? They quit out. I understand that things look bleak and Apex is a brutal game, but if you have a little persistence, a little fortitude, you never know what is gonna happen. The enemy might try to troll you, or they might mess up in a big way. Before you know it, you clutch up that 1v2 or 1v3 and still win the fight. Show a little persistence, and the more you push yourself, the more you learn how to deal with the emotions, stress, and nerves of these 1v2 and 1v3 scenarios. Learning and putting yourself in these situations just lets you better handle them in the future. There are a couple A+ habits I do want to highlight, which I think are borderline need to have or game-changing habits. The first is going to be basically your decision making, and more specifically we call this shot calling. This has to do with a multitude of things, but the big one is just doing something. If no one on your squad is taking the leadership role or calling out where to go, what to do, you need to step up. Having no decisive action on what to do is the biggest problem, and frankly, taking no chances and doing nothing is a much bigger problem than actually doing something. Even if it is wrong, take a shot, make the call on what to do. If it works, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. You get to re-queue into another match. Learn from the mistake and move on, and at the end of it all, take the shot, make the call, and commit. The final A tier habit is truly a habit that everyone needs to be implementing, maybe just a little bit more. This is taking accountability. My teammates suck, my game lagged, if they didn't do X, this wouldn't have happened. Sometimes there are circumstances that are out of your control, but the quicker and faster you can actually take ownership and accountability of your actions, the faster you can actually be to improve. Ownership is something that many can benefit from, and if everyone is taking ownership of the problem, then actual solutions can be found much quicker than trying to pass the blame around. It is a little difficult to admit when something that maybe was out of your control is actually your fault, but take a second, own up to it, and stop blaming everyone around you, and then great things will happen. We are about to get into the S tier category of habits, but be sure to hit that like button if you are enjoying or if you just want to support me. And also follow me on Twitter for all the updates in regards to the content we produce around here and some insights I do provide from time to time. Game changing and ascending to another level are going to be the skills and habits that we do have locked in S tier. These are the best things you can work on right now, or at least have in the back of your mind as skills that you want to try and build when it does come to your success in game. For many, these will be the most important things you can work on that will matter the most. The first is going to be game sense. This is not always the easiest thing to describe as it kind of comes in time. It's not really concrete when it comes to something that you can actually build, unlike say your aim. Game sense is the culmination and passive building of just knowing where to go, when, and building various tactics and techniques that you can use in game. A very basic example is you looked left when you should have looked right, or you shot at X when you should have shot at Y. There's no real way to rapidly build this in game other than to experience different engagements and learn from them. But one thing that you will find helpful is to watch those who are better than you. While watching, say, a pro player, question everything they are doing. Why are they shooting now? Why are they moving now? Why are they healing now? Where are they going? Why are they going there? All of these things will help you learn the sense of the game, and in time, you'll make better decisions on the fly. You can also do this while you are in the game yourself. Ask yourself, what are my options? And then try to pick the best from there. The next habit is going to be one of those habits that has one of the largest influences on your combat successes, and this is going to be your positioning. Holding enemies out of the ring, having high ground, and controlling general areas are some of the biggest ways to win a game without really needing to implement any sort of crazy movement or gun skill. More times than not, having this positional knowledge and awareness, or game sense, will let you win more fights. Positional awareness is key in Apex, and this can even mean when you are specifically in fights, challenging enemies who are under you rather than enemies who are on a head glitch. There's a lot of scenarios I could list where positioning matters a ton, so always try to be aware of your surroundings and your in-game position. We've got a couple skills and habits in the S+, which you could call God tier, and the first is going to be the most obvious of them all: gun skill and aiming. Some people will call Apex ability legends as a joke that you don't need to shoot your gun, but truthfully, there is nothing more important than learning how to effectively manage every single weapon in the game. You won't always be able to find the perfect loadout or perfect weapon combo, so the better you can be at each and every weapon in game, the better off you are going to be to win more of your engagements. If you are looking for the #1 way or the #1 thing to improve, it's going to be your proficiency with Apex Legends weaponry. Everything we have talked about in this video is about making you get better, but truthfully, none of that matters if you can't actually improve your skills. So hacking. So improvement building is going to be the #1 habit and skill you need to implement right now. There's a few simple but effective things I can recommend, but for starters, every loss and every win you take is an opportunity to learn. If you're requeuing into the match without actually taking something away, then nothing is going to change. Second to this, and I've experienced this firsthand recently, but spending a simple 5 minutes in the firing range shooting at the signs and the dummies can provide huge gains to your abilities to control weapons. Not only can you get experience with the weapons that you might not be as fond with, you're also getting to shoot your gun in a non-stress environment and without delay. 5 minutes is all I ask. If you can do this, you'll see huge differences just after a few play sessions or even immediately. Being self-aware and having some self-respect for yourself is critical, not only in Apex, but really everything. Let me know which habits are the ones you're going to be working on the most, and if I missed any, check out this video right here. If you are looking for even more ways to improve your skills, hit the like button, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.